it seems you can't please those people. If you don't agree with their philosophy, they say, go live somewhere else, and then you do, and then they're angry that you left and went somewhere else. They said, oh, I'm paying 5,000 euros a year in taxes. I really need your help. I said, no, you don't.
So why do people have resistance to taking this so seriously? What are their major roadblocks? We touched on one of them being potentially a significant other, holding them back from doing something that they know is in their future that they want to go towards. But what are some of the mindset blocks that you notice in many of the people that you work with, preventing them from fully actualizing into this?
Well, I think the beautiful thing about our business is, as it's grown very organically, I talk to fewer and fewer people who have the roadblocks, right? So I'm just talking to folks who are like, I'm ready to go. I want to get this plan done. It's not even let's make a plan now. It's let's make a plan so that we can then go out and execute it. So we've really, worked on our side, by putting out lots of content and by just, me showing that I'm living this lifestyle by doing more and more stuff in the public eye, that people come to us and we start to just kind of select. I think if you're in the consulting business, that's something that you want to aim for, is how do you just be that person that you don't have to so much. There's no glory in reveling in the misery or reveling in the frustration. But significant others are a roadblock. Family, hey, my grandmother needs me kind of thing. Not that like my grandmother is in bad health, just, hey, I've always seen her and what would happen if I don't see her? I think some people, that not that I'm talking to, but just in general, watch this and say, well, but it seems kind of weird, I remember when I was really young and I saw this bank that was paying a much higher interest rate, I'm like, oh, it's in some other country? Like, that's weird. And is that even legal? So I've been through many, many years ago what some people are going through now. I think more and more people are realizing there is the opportunity to do this. But, I think some people just think, oh, it's the patriotic thing to stay. It seems you can't please those people. If you don't agree with their philosophy, they say, go live somewhere else. And then you do, and then they're angry that you left and went somewhere else. Those are the big, I'm sure there's a ton of them. Those are the big ones. The other one is cost, by the way. Again, not a huge issue that I see anymore. But anything worth doing is a cost, right? If I tell someone, hey, you need these 7 things and it costs, $40,000 to turn that on at a high level, but it's going to save you $300,000 a year and it's going to work for the next 10 years. Again, not so much anymore in our business, but I think certainly some people are afraid to do that, right? And I think to me it comes down to the hustler versus the builder paradigm. It's a great concept that someone introduced me to. If you're the person who just started making $1 million a year 6 months ago, and you're this brand new business and you're a hotshot, you're probably looking for every angle you can. You're not looking to make long-term investments, whereas people who are building a long-term business, and they know they're going to see returns 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now, are saying that's nothing. So that's one as well. I think that's true of anything, right? How many times do we resist making investments that will pay off very quickly? Because we're so afraid of that one-time cost. So I think fear is a big thing overall.
So not understanding investment versus cost at a high level.
I think it's something that, we all struggle with at various times, right? It's painful, which is why, for me, when do you go and start doing this stuff? Especially on the tax side, when there's a pain, when you feel like this is really getting in my way. I had a guy message me, I was referred in some social media forum, this is 4 or 5 years ago. He said, oh, I'm paying 5,000 euros a year in taxes. I really need your help. I said, no, you don't. You have a pit in your stomach over 5,000 euros? This is not, see, I may be pretty libertarian minded, but I don't make it a political thing where this is a political protest, defund the government. I'm not running away from something. I want to run to something better, to something great. I want to run to having a great life that serves what I'm looking for, and gives me things that I wouldn't necessarily have staying inside one box where I come from. And so if you're making it a political statement or a numeric thing of we have to optimize everything like we're McKinsey or something optimizing a supply. It's not going to work. It has, for me, at the entrepreneurial level, there has to be a certain gut intuition that knows when to do it and goes on some level of feeling rather than, if we can save €7, it's worth it.
So my question is, number one, when is it an appropriate time to start deploying your strategies, the things that you're outlining right now? And it can seem massively overwhelming to protect wealth when you don't believe you have any. So maybe you can speak into the mindset of like maybe dismantling what that means or what that is, and then when it's appropriate to actually start taking this seriously.
So if I go back to 2004, 2005, I'm just getting started in business. Obviously I wasn't thinking about this stuff. Now this offshore stuff, this global citizen stuff that we talk about, obviously wasn't nearly as common back then, and so I had to kind of figure some of this stuff out just by happenstance. But I wasn't, for me the biggest thing was bringing in more sales and creating more wealth. I do think that certain people in business, they get too carried away with the confidence, just imagining how could this not work, that they start planning their big home and their yachts and all that kind of stuff. I think the right thing to do is establish good habits. So if you have some cash in the bank and you want to do what I'm talking about, you can go to a country like a Georgia, like an Armenia, like an Ecuador. You can open a bank account there with $100, and you put it in there, and you may have to take a trip to that country, and you'll see some of the stuff that I'm talking about just in a short trip of how other people are living and how business and countries are growing. But just do that and get yourself in the mindset of diversification. Get yourself in the habit of saving money. Get yourself in the habit of living on less than you make. Because you're right, we know some of these marketers make millions of dollars a year. Again, they go out and they rent the $50,000 a month place in Newport Beach. They drive the nice car. They have the California tax bill. They go to dinner. It's $10,000 for dinner. And so, you're putting the cart before the horse. I like to go and have nice dinners. I mean, the best part of the lockdown that my wife and I had was going out and trying fine cheeses and trying new champagnes. But it's because I got in the habit of living like a monk for quite a long time, and that habit now means to where whatever I make in a month, if I spend more than 5 or 6% of that, alarm bells start going off because I've conditioned myself. I think it's all a mindset game. It's about creating habits. It's about self-awareness. And as to, when they should consider, moving somewhere to reduce the tax bill, I would say when it becomes uncomfortable paying what you're paying. I don't really recommend people, go overseas for tax optimization because it's a numerical equation to them. There has to be a feeling, right? And I can tell you as a guy who was also as a teenager interested in libertarianism and the government's taking too much of our money, it's all poppycock until you're actually sending the check, right? You can kvetch and be upset, about money that doesn't exist, right? Taxes you're not paying. It has to kind of hurt you, and you have to feel like, holy cow, I'm wasting a lot of money that could be better spent investing in my business and my brand and building out a team and serving my customers. So I don't know when that is. I would say probably in the low to mid 6 figures, depending on where you're from, because it's not cheap and it requires some discipline to do properly. But it really, to me, is all about habit and mindset.
As most things are. So that makes perfect sense.
So many people, listen, I work with folks who are really, successful people, and what's fascinating is people who are successful for 30 or 40 years, it's about the things I'm talking about. It's about just, as my father would say, American football, blocking and tackling, just waking up and just doing the right things every day. Eventually, you get to the point where you've done that enough, now other people can block and tackle for you, but nevertheless, it's interesting that sometimes you'll see someone who's been successful for a year and a half, and they're making a lot of money, and to them it's just all about the numbers, and they don't want to be a sucker, and if they can pay 1% less for something, like they're going to fight for that because it's about like winning the numbers game. It's not really about winning the numbers game. I mean, personal finance is 80% behavior and 20% knowledge. And even like when I make YouTube videos and people sometimes say like, why do you talk about mindset? Why don't you just give us more tactics and more strategies? Because I can make 1,000 videos on tactics and strategies and you're still not going to implement them until you fix this roadblock that is the 80%. Once you get over the roadblock of sending money to another country to buy a piece of property, to put money in a bank account, whatever, that's when it all starts to work. You have to get past those roadblocks. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.